Good morning, everyone. Let me start Instagram here. We will get that going. Uh, that might not have worked. Sorry, folks. Gotta try that again. Okay. Trying to do a lot of things here. Start streaming. There we go. Now we can launch this thing. Let's hope this goes this time. All right. I think Instagram is live. Here we go. Thanks, everybody, for letting me get that stuff going. All righty. I am Michael Cioni, and we are doing this on YouTube Live, Instagram Live, and Zoom, which, by the way, is hard and complicated because there isn't a single way to do them all at once, which is the kerfuffle that we always have to get through to get them all started. Wouldn't that be a great tech company to start? Probably. Anyway, I'm coming at you from Hollywood. It's Tuesday morning. We do these live. We love connecting with the community, and we love talking a little bit about what's happening in the market and showing new technology from Strada as we build this. If you watch this and you take care and you watch and you kind of interact here, we are always taking your questions, and you love workflow and you're trying to make it better. And that's what we're here to do. On the call, I've got a little help, and my team is here to help, and we can help you with the product. We can help you onboard. We can answer questions. We'll be fielding questions. I have an iPad here, so I can see questions from YouTube Live, from Instagram, and from Zoom. So whatever you got, please send it my way. I want to start and say congratulations to Sean Baker. You probably watched the Oscars. It was pretty good. There wasn't a lot of drama this year, which some people say, where's the drama? And other people say, it's good there's no drama. It depends on what side of the fence you fall on. But what I think was really interesting is this story at the end. Now Sean Barker, now this is amazing. Sean Baker, he's obviously made a lot of great films, but the challenge that's really interesting is that his films, which are these really, really dark comedies, they're really, really dark comedies. They're very independent focused. And what Sean has always been able to be good at is making films very, very do it yourself. And I think Honor was only a few $1 million, $5-6 million. I think the budget was, stealing a lot of locations, not having studio oversight. And this is really interesting. Now, what's really interesting about that is, one, it isn't a major box office hit. A lot of times movies that win major awards at the Oscars are not box office hits. We always find that interesting dichotomy, right? There's a lot of films that are huge in the box office, but not big on awards, and then vice versa. And Sean Baker's work is an example of that. But what's really interesting is how this ties into a recent presentation that I gave. If you haven't seen this, you should really check this out. It's on the Strata Tech YouTube channel, and I did a presentation about a thesis that my brother and I kind of assembled based on what's happening in Hollywood. And so much of it is sort of epitomized by Baker's wins and the Oscars. And since it's award season, it really makes a difference. And one of the reasons here is one of these quotes that came from a Hollywood Reporter article. And it talks about, if modern Hollywood filmmaking is generally large and it's by a committee, Baker's style is this small team and get it done approach. And then he practiced this, handmaid's work, right? And it's all this, like, it's very independent friendly, independent focus. The reason that's so significant is that is the type of work that the creator economy is best at. If you create and you don't work for the studios, you just find the way. And that's what so many great films are. They just find the way. And it's only in the studio system that has the box office and has all the marketing and all that stuff. That's the traditional way of working. But you can make these amazing films that people want to see and can be very, very award winning or award worthy, and they're not box office hits. And I know it makes sense. You're like, of course, there's films that don't do well in the box office, but they're really great films. My like favorite film of all time is The Big Lebowski, and nobody wanted to see that in the theater. It didn't really, nobody cared. And of course, it's this amazing film that everybody's seen, or most people have seen dozens of times. Why is that? It's because when you have total control, you're able to make things happen without these committees, without the large style of things. And that is the biggest insight that I want to provide our community, is that if Hollywood's going to expand and succeed and maintain a growth trajectory that it's had for a century, then it's got to recalibrate how it actually works. And that means less oversight on the actual creation and more help with the actual exhibition. Hollywood will do better if it can exhibit and distribute and not and provide all the crew members required to make the film, but not to actually drive the film. And this whole process of green lighting is actually probably hurting Hollywood these days more than it ever did in the past. In fact, the idea of green lighting used to be this thing we sought after from a studio, but I don't think that really works. Remember, there was the phrase green light yourself. That when I was in college, that became a phrase that some groups were using. And I really, really believe in that. So it's like, we've got to greenlight ourselves. So definitely check out this story about my kind of vision for Hollywood's future. It's on YouTube. I'm really happy. A whole bunch of people watched it. We did this keynote. This really great guy at HPA, Mark Cholis, asked me to give a presentation at this HPA Tech Retreat. If you're not familiar with the HPA Tech Retreat, it is a studio technology group, Hollywood Professional Association, that meets has a retreat every February in Palm Springs. They asked me to give the keynote. This was the story that I decided to tell. And something like 13 or 14,000 people have watched the keynote now on YouTube. And so I'm flattered. It's really good. I'm getting a lot of emails, getting a lot of people asking questions about it. It's pretty exciting, but now we've got to make it work. And so it's really important that we really, really make it work. So John actually asked, well, what was my favorite film of last year? You know, it's really a tie, John. September 5, I think, was my favorite film, probably. I thought it was fantastic. You should watch September 5. Amazing story about workflow. It's really a sub-story of problem solving from a technology standpoint, even though it's really about this terrorist attack that happened in 1972 at the Munich Olympic Games. The movie is portrayed as this problem solving using technology and tools and talent. That's the subtext to the film. It's really a workful movie if you really look at it. And that's really awesome. And then my other favorite film was The Substance. The Substance is so creatively different. That's why I like films like The Substance, because they are so creatively different. And I think it deserved best directing, in my opinion, on one hand, just because it was so cleverly directed and assembled and put together. And I just think when I saw it, I really knew nothing about it. And there's something really fantastic about watching a film you know nothing about. And you're just like, this is so different. And different in a really, really unique way. And so September 5 and Substance are very different films, as you know, if you've seen them, but they're really, really great examples of, on the whole, relatively small films that are not box office hits. That's not what it's about. And those films absolutely embody what it can be to greenlight yourself in a way. And so it's really awesome to see a new layer of filmmaking come out. And I really want to encourage the creator economy to start thinking about how they can impact the narrative space. Narrative is always the hardest. I mean, if you work on professional films, you know, narrative is just so hard. Narrative production is hard. But the opportunity is for us to take narrative filmmaking and move it more into the creative space, like Honora and films like that are just do it yourself, all grit, low budget, but make the story, tell the story. I just think the Oscars embodied a lot of those principles. And so it's really awesome to see that come about. So pretty exciting. John on YouTube asks, what films are you most excited for 2025? Well, in 2025, I guess I don't know the full slate of films coming out. Most of the best films are held to the fall, right? Because they want to position those movies to be visible for the awards and nominations. So a lot of the best movies are in the fall. In fact, here's a little secret about Hollywood. February, it's now March, but February is usually the dumping ground of bad movies because after awards have already been decided. Sometimes in February, Valentine's Day, that kind of time of year. I've noticed that pattern where a lot of times people just go to the movies in February. There's not a lot of holidays in February for a lot of the world. It's cold. And so there's just not a lot of great films in the like late winter, early spring. And so February is never a great time to see a lot of films, but prove me wrong. That's always an opportunity to prove me wrong, but I'm always looking forward to that. And then IndieWire has an article that talks about this was the worst Oscars weekend box office in over a decade. And so, there are changes to the market when the box office is going downhill and things like that. And this story here in this Hollywood analysis that I have here, Pete can put in the chats on YouTube and Instagram. You can put the chats to the link so you can see that if you want to check it out. You should really see this because I'm not saying all the data in here. Most of the data in the presentation is just information. So there is some conjecture and some of my opinions, but a lot of it is just pure data. And the data doesn't lie. The data is unbiased, right? And data is just there to be consumed. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Watch this and think about how it can impact your life. When I talk about things like I do in this particular story, I want to give people ideas on what they can do about it because we don't want to just be throwing in the towel and giving up. That's not what we're here for. If you're creative and you like telling stories, there's so much opportunities. One person said, inside this presentation is a treasure map to where we all want to be, but not everybody can read it. And so that ultimately is why we started Strada. We started Strada because we were on a more traditional form of careers. I've worked on more than 150 major movies. I've worked on everything from Avatar, the first Avatar, to The Social Network, Pirates of the Caribbean, Spider-Man. Worked on more than 150 films. And throughout that process, I learned about workflow. I got really good at workflow. I got really good about production and post-production process. I direct, I produce, I edit, and shoot. And so all of that training really made me realize how narrow the compression is becoming between technology and talent. And it's just getting so narrow. And you would say, well, it's always been shrinking. That technology gap has always been shrinking. Yes, but it is shrinking so tightly that cameras that cost $1,000 or $2,000 are so close to cameras that cost $50,000 to $100,000. And microphones have come down tremendously in price. Wireless video is now becoming democratized. Wireless video 10 years ago was $30,000 units to do that. It was so complicated and they didn't work that well. And today they're everywhere. There's so many solutions. All of this means there's no excuse to be creating. And so we're trying to create a new tool. Strada is all about access. Because we believe when it comes down to the source of what you're trying to do, it's about access. You cannot create if you don't have access to media. And you can't collaborate if your collaborators don't have access to media, right? So it's all about collaboration and access. We want you to be able to access your media anywhere, anytime, on any device, immediately. Now, that is easier said than done. And I want to unpack why. I mean, that's really what I'm here to do. And my team at Strada, we're trying to build a solution that allows you to connect to your media anywhere on any device immediately. But if that's going to be true, the cloud has some problems. See, when I'm going to show some features today, and we actually have new features at Strada. that we just released. And I'm going to demonstrate a few of those. I want to give you a preview before I jump back into that cloud idea. But we just added transcription summary. It's so cool that you can have summaries. Like, you're on a Zoom call. You can get a summary of the call. You can now get that with all your videos, and those summaries can actually become descriptions for your social media posts. It's so fast. It's so easy. And if you're doing nonfiction, every interview should get a transcription summary, and it's automatic in Strada. It's really cool. We just deployed facial recognition. It's been a long time in the works. It's out. You can now get facial rec. Strada will automatically analyze faces. You name them, and it will allow you to search for a character. It's so powerful to search specifically for a character, and you can combine that character with a location. I'll show it to you. And then we've got global search. So if you have a lot of media and a lot of projects, we added another layer of search that can search globally across your whole account versus just inside of a project. So those are really cool things. But I mentioned a second ago about cloud. See, if we believe that we want you to have access to your media everywhere immediately, there's a problem with cloud. Here's why. What my guess is, when you're shooting, you have a hard drive with all of your footage on it, probably a big RAID, maybe a bunch of RAIDs working together, right? You've got all that, but you have to collaborate with the cloud, and only a small subset of your footage is in the cloud, right? That's kind of how it goes. There's only a small portion in the cloud. So 90% of your media is on a drive, and maybe 10% is in a cloud. That's a problem, because now you have multiple copies, and it takes time to upload it to the cloud. And it's so expensive, you can't put it all in the cloud, or else you would, right? If the cloud was financially viable for us, we would put everything in the cloud. If bandwidth was fast, we'd put everything in the cloud. But unfortunately, bandwidth is too slow and the cloud's too expensive. So what do we do about it? Well, collaboration is now made more painful because of this. Now let's look at local files for a second. When you connect a drive, we love drives for a couple of reasons. One, large hard drives are really fast. Thunderbolt 4 is so fast. You can play back 8K files, no problem, right? That's really good. Also, the drives themselves are inexpensive. They're actually, a terabyte, couple of terabytes is less than $100. So it's really amazing to see how big drives are and how inexpensive they are. But there's a big downside. You can't collaborate. If you have media on a hard drive and you want someone else to have it, you have to make a copy. You have to give them that drive or ship that drive. So collaboration is bad with hard drives, but cost and speed is good. Well, that's why we love the cloud, right? Because the cloud is totally collaborative. But the problem with the cloud is it's really slow. You don't have the bandwidth to upload. Most of us don't have the bandwidth to upload. In fact, the average upload speed in North America is 30 megabits per second. A ProRes file is 300 or 400 megabits per second. So it would take all day to upload ProRes files because your bandwidth is just like sucking a golf ball through a garden hose, right? It's just not there. So that's a problem with the cloud. And then the other problem is the cloud is expensive. In fact, it's 40 times more expensive per gigabyte to upload a file to the cloud than to have it on a hard drive. 40 times. It's so much more expensive. That's why you can't keep everything in a cloud, especially video. Video is the largest, most complex file type there is. Of all the files in the world, video is the biggest and the most complicated. And clouds are not designed for this to be cost effective, and your internet bandwidth isn't designed to handle it. So how do we solve this? Well, this is what Strada is all about. We are building a solution that allows you to have the benefits of local file access and cloud collaboration so that it is fast, it's inexpensive, and collaborative. We're literally inventing a way for you to be able to have a local hard drive remotely accessible. Think about that. It's not FTP. It's not screen sharing. It's literally transmitting files so that you can share them remotely, except the files never upload to the cloud at all. And we call this Strada Agents, and it's really exciting. And I want to just double down why this is so important. There's a significant reason why this is so important. First of all, video is so big, we have these problems. The files that you're shooting don't get smaller, right? People shoot 4K, 6K, 8K. There's now 12K cameras. I had a guy call me the other day, and he said, Well, that's not going to keep happening. Camera companies are going to stop increasing resolution in sensors. And I said, based on what data? Like, what are you talking about? There's no data that suggests that. Camera companies, just by the way of things like Moore's law and just competitive advantage, they're going to keep building better sensors. And those sensors are going to have photo sites that get smaller and more sensitive. And as they get smaller and more sensitive, the dynamic range goes up, and so does the resolution. And if the resolution goes up, then the file size goes up. So files are just going to always be really big. And then people don't cut, right? Like there's this lack of discipline. I don't have a problem. Some film students or film schools say they need to teach people to have more discipline. I'm an editor. If you give me more footage, I feel better. And so I often look for things that are on the fringes when I'm editing, like a reaction shot that's more natural because it wasn't during the official take. And there's a lot of filmmakers that will testify to this. So I'm not a don't shoot too much type person. Like, keep recording. We talked about internet speed being too slow, only 30 megabits on average upload. That's really bad. Cloud storage costs are too high. And your video software stack traditionally is located on your computer, meaning most of the software that you use to create with is an application on your computer. So if the files are in the cloud and your application is local, you got a problem there because there's latency, there's distance, there's issues. So we got a bunch of problems with this, and that's what we're trying to solve. We are trying to solve a problem, and we call it Strada Agents. And I'm going to demonstrate it for you now. So Pete and Margot, I'm going to switch to the Agents Zoom so we could turn that on. Thank you so much. So I'm going to, hopefully you guys all can see this. Let's see here. How do I do this? I got to remember how to do this. So hopefully you can see this on YouTube and Instagram. I just want to pop over to Instagram and
Michael,
see.
we spotlight that screen so you don't have to manage your own monitor.
Great. Okay, cool. All right. So what you're seeing here, this is really cool. What you're seeing on the right, I'm just going to make this big so everybody can see it. This is a computer in Culver City. Not that impressive, but what you can see if you look really closely, it's 922. And if I zoom way up here, you can see it's 920. Oh, it just changed, 923, and it's 923. So this is happening in real time. So we've got a computer that's happening that I'm looking at a live webcast. This is a Zoom, and so I'm just seeing a Zoom of a live webcast of a computer sitting there. What can we tell about this computer? Well, it's in Culver City, number one. It's the real time right now, but we can see it has 36 megabits upload. So, it's pretty pathetic internet in Culver City, but it's pretty standard. That's the average. So that's a good data point. We only have 36 megs. This computer is on Wi-Fi. So there is no cables plugged in. The cable here is the Thunderbolt cable connected to this SanDisk, which is a G-Tech SanDisk drive. And you can see that's, maybe you can see that's on the desktop of the computer. It says G-RAID mirror. That is this drive right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to slide this over here. And I am going to look at Strada here, and I'm going to have to make this a little squeezed down. And I'm going to open up my directory here in Strada. And what you're going to see is on the left here in Strada, I can see clouds. Like I can see Frame.io, I can see Google Drive, I can see Dropbox, but I see Strada Agent. Well, what's this Strada Agent all about? Well, Strada Agent is running an application on this computer over here. And the computer on the right, this computer right here, is running the Strada Agent. And what happens is I can click on this computer and I can start mounting, looking at the drive. So I'm looking at the actual G-RAID. So this is the G-RAID that is on this computer. I am remoting into that G-RAID. I can go to this folder called Rattled, and you can see the G-RAID starts blinking. And if I click on a file and I start playing, I am now playing back this file from this drive, and I am doing it locally on my machine. If I click and switch files, you can see the drive blinks. If I click again, you might see the drive blinks, If I click again, you'll see the drive blinks. So what we're doing is we're accessing this remote drive, but I can now see the files here. This is so powerful that even if I grab a long file, so this is a long file, this file is 2 hours and 11 minutes. It's actually the film National Treasure. And watch this. If I click in the middle, let me mute it. I am literally clicking in the middle. I'm going to click to the end of the film. Now I could click to the beginning of the film. You can see the drive reacting when I click, and I click back in the middle again. Notice how there's almost no latency. Do you notice that? There's no buffering, right? Because buffering is a byproduct of accessing cloud media. We're not doing it that way. These aren't proxy files that are accessible through the cloud. This file is not on a cloud. I am accessing it here, and I'm playing it back locally. If I were to make this big, you can kind of see I could make this bigger for you. So you can see the quality. I can skip through this, and the latency is the speed of the access of the drive itself, right? When you click around a file on a drive, it doesn't take very long for that drive to get to that spot. This is the same tech, but if you click around a file on a cloud, you have to wait for it to buffer, right? And so that's the difference. I want you to be able to see the drive still here, and I'm clicking there. Now you might ask, well, what about bandwidth? How big is bandwidth is an issue? Well, check this out. Here is a directory called ProRes. These are uncolor corrected camera original ProRes files. And if I hit play on these ProRes files, I'm now playing back files that are log here, and they're ProRes, which means they're over 100 megabits per second. Now, why is that significant? Think about this. We have a file that is over 100 megabits per second, but my internet bandwidth is only 36. That's impossible. How can I play 100 megabit ProRes over 36 megabits internet? Because that's what we're using. We're using a real-time transport stream of these files on this drive, and we're projecting that result to you. So we can play files that are way too big and instantly transmit them. And you can see I can just scrub to a completely different file, and I can hit play and now play back a log daily. So think about that. When you have files on a hard drive after a shoot, today you have to compress them, then you have to upload them, then you can share them. With Strada Agents, you just plug in the drive, and then you just play it. That's it, right? Like we skip the compression, we skip the uploading, and we're just instantly sharing. You could do this on the set from the camera card. Think about that. I can plug the camera card into the computer on a DIT's cart, and I could have those files reviewed anywhere through Strada. Think about that. Off the camera card, I could project that, and there's no uploading. And if there's no uploading, there's no cost. John asks, how large is a National Treasure film in file size? John, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because the file, it could be 4K ProRes or it can be an H.265. But the file can exceed the bandwidth of the upload terminal. That's what I was trying to prove with these ProRes files. These ProRes files are huge. The file size doesn't matter. As long as the file can be played back on the drive where the agent is. You need a drive that can play back the file at the agent side. Once that's possible, and you have a good computer that can encode the stream, you can play it back and watch it remotely. That's why these ProRes files are bigger than the bandwidth of my agent in Culver City, and it doesn't matter. That's what's so significant about this workflow, and it's a totally new way to work. So I'm gonna go back to my deck here. Hopefully that makes sense, that everyone kind of understands what we just showed. And it's really, really, really exciting to do that. So for those of you interested, we're going to be at the NAB show in Vegas in 5 weeks. And that's where we're going to show a beta. We're going to try to release agents in beta so you can try it. And so that's going to be really exciting. Okay, I want to show you a couple other brand new features that came out last week. This is brand new. Strada is in beta, but you can sign up today and start using it, and you can start using it as a centralized collaboration platform that helps bring you access to your media. Today, you can't use Strada Agents yet. We're building that, right? I just said that, but you can connect to Dropbox, Frame.io, or Google Drive, and you use those clouds, which you already pay for, and you can start enriching your files. Check this first one out. Transcription summary. Well, I'm going to show you something really interesting. Remember, we were looking at National Treasure, right? So I look at National Treasure here. And what's interesting about this whole kind of cool thing is transcription summary allows you to transcribe anything. So remember, we have this movie here. Here's the movie. And as I click around, it will take the transcription wherever it goes. You know, we can find that. I remember there's a line where he says, someone's got to go to jail. And if I type in the word jail, it'll find all the times that we go to, someone says the word jail. So when we have that, though, what's really cool is now we can generate a summary. This can be a summary of a final product that you're going to put on YouTube or somewhere else. It could be a summary of an interview, anything like that. So if I'm going to do that, I have options here. I can make the summary, I can make the summary YouTube description, a meeting or an interview, a storyline, or I can make my own custom. So if I say storyline and say generate, in this case, it's going to find everything about the movie and generate a storyline transcription and summary. And so now we're getting the whole movie summarized in a certain amount of words, kind of like a general summary. So this takes about 25 seconds. So here it is. And now we have the full summary here of the film. And if I were to copy this, I can make this a little bigger, put it here. Oops, let's see here. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. And now if I make this a little bigger, we can see this is the summary generated of the actual film Treasure. What is this film? National Treasure. So we can see that. But if I wanted to do something really custom, I could say summarize all the characteristics and personality traits of the main character, Benjamin Gates. That's the name of Nicolas Cage's character. So I've asked it to summarize his character. It's so hard to type and talk at the same time. There's a lot going on. Forgive me. But what you're going to see here is a summary. Now, while that's getting generated, John asks, did all the footage Michael reviewed from Culver City get processed locally before it was available to be watchable from afar? Processed locally. So, John, the answer to that question is it depends what you mean by processed. Strada cannot debayer. So if it's a raw file, you have to convert it to an RGB file. RGB can be ProRes, DNX in an MXF file, AV1, VP9, HEVC, H.264. Those are that's an RGB file. So we can't take a raw file. But if it's RGB, there's no processing. As long as it's RGB, then we can play those files back. And yeah, so you can do that. That's why you saw log ProRes, and then you saw a final movie, and then you saw dailies. They're all different, right? And so you don't have to pre-render if you don't want. But if you have to sync the sound, Strada can sync the sound. If you have to have color, things like that might require extra processing. But no, there's no proxy required for what we showed. Okay, so now let me copy this one. Let's go back into here, and we'll paste this in, and now we'll see here. This was the personality traits and characteristics of the Benjamin Gates character. So you can see a completely different summary here generated. Very cool, very powerful. And if you do this from an interview, it works the same way. You could have an interview of someone, and then you can take that interview and generate a transcription of that. And I could say, generate a interview of this. So this is an interview, and I've got it all transcribed in Strada. By the way, our customers tell us Strada has the best transcription in the market. That's what we're told by our customers. We can do 100 languages. So you can see there's a ton of languages here. So many people can see all these languages that we support. And we are told that it is exceptional at transcription. So now we're adding in this really cool summary. So this will be done in about 5 seconds. And now we've taken a transcription. By the way, this transcription is actually in Chinese. And so it's really cool that here we can see now, here's the transcription summary. So if I paste this here, let's see here, I'll just paste it here. Here is the summary that I just got from Qian Wang, and talks about where she grew up and her story. So here is the summary. So I don't have to watch this really long interview. If I just want to paste this in an email and send it to my producer, that is the story of Qian. But what's really powerful is Qian is actually speaking in Mandarin. Listen to this.
大家好，我叫王倩，我来自中国天津。
Think about that. We just got a transcription of Qian's interview, and she actually gave the interview in Mandarin. All of this is really cool breakthrough stuff, because I know when you're working on nonfiction and there's an interview in a different language, the workflow grinds to a halt. This solves that, and this is a whole new tool that can really help. Michael from Zune asks, is it possible to import a script and connect video files to the script? So Michael, the answer is no today. And I want to challenge you. If you really think we need to import the script to Strada, please let us know why and how you would use that. Because here's what we found. The script is a reference for the actors on set, but once they speak it, it changes. And once they deliver it, the time code doesn't really work anymore to the script, because a director will say, wait, do that line again. Or an actor will flub a line and they'll repeat it. Or they won't cut and they'll say back to one. And when that happens, the script doesn't work anymore. So we believe that the transcript is your script. It's a better version of the script. And I'll show you how that can kind of work here, because we can look at our scenes here. We can click on a take, and then we can see the transcript. So that's sort of where, if we need to think about incorporating scripts into Strada, I'm totally down with that. But I'm finding the transcript is more valuable because it's accurate. And if I search for the word "you're welcome," I can instantly search for "you're welcome." It'll find the take where that happens. And now that quickly, I can go right to that moment where the guy says, "Okay, you're welcome."
Hey, you're welcome.
And like, that's so fast. I don't think I could find that faster with the script and get to the actual video, right? And so that's my challenge, Michael. So if I'm wrong, I want to know, let me know. But I think the transcript becomes the script in a way, and it's kind of faster to do all our searches. Speaking of searches, we had some other things I wanted to show you. Facial recognition is now out. I'm so happy about this. Here's how you do facial recognition. You just select your assets. When you right click, you can choose to analyze. When the analyze comes up, you now can turn face detection on. When you run face detection, it'll run the files. There's this little icon up here. You see this little icon? If I click that, it brings up all the faces. And this is a picture of all the people that appear in your project. And all you got to do is go in and name them who they are. And once you name them, you're able to search for them. So you name the faces. And if you want to get rid of them, there's a little trash can. You can click on that and you can delete faces that you don't want if they're not relevant. And so that's where you name your faces. And once you name it, now you can search by it. So I'm going to show you a couple cool ways to search. Before I do that, I want to get to John. John asks, when a DIT on location plugs a card into a computer with a Strada agent installed, I like what you're saying, John, the clients and team in another country could literally review the shop footage instantly from afar, no ingestion. John, 100%. 100%. That's exactly. You can put a card in a computer that's running an agent. The DIT would have to authorize this volume. They'd have to say, you can share this volume. And the Strada user on the other side of the ocean has to have permission to be in the project. But once they do that, the card will just show up and they can play back files instantly, no uploading. And it just can't be a raw file. We can't do raw files today. It has to be an RGB file. Most cameras can either shoot RGB files or they shoot proxies. This is a Red mag. Red can shoot RAW and ProRes at the same time. So what I would do is I put my camera in 6K RAW or 8K RAW with an HD ProRes, and you record the HD ProRes proxy on the card. Then when you load it into Strada, they can see all the proxy files and they can watch the ProRes instantly, no uploading. And the DIT can still do all their other stuff probably. So it's really, really, really powerful. Okay, check out this search power with faces. So if you look right here, I've got 4 buttons. These are new search filters. So I have 4 filters here. This is searching audio. This is searching visual. This is searching metadata. And this is searching text. So check this out. If I put it in visual tags, I could search by the character Flo. So if I look for Flo, it'll start finding anytime Flo appears. And there she is. But if I said I wanted Flo with the character Rose, now I'm combining 2 characters together. And here I can find Rose and Flo together in a shot. So there's characters. So I got Rose and Flo together. If I went to Flo and Hansel, I can combine 2 characters that way. So I have Flo and Hansel, and now I see when they are together. So we could see Flo and Hansel there. So there's the 2 of them there. And here's another shot of the 2 of them here. And notice Strada can actually work in multicam. And so here you can see I've got multicam, A camera, B camera, and sound. And I'm able to search for these 2 characters and I can find both cameras. And when I play it back, it plays them in sync. Notice that when I'm hitting play, it plays both files in sync. If I click to the end, they remain in sync. So very, very powerful here. I can also combine Flo with a location. So if I said Flo in the stairs, it would find Flo when she's in the stairs. This is how directors think. Directors don't think scene 29A, right? They go, where's that shot with Flo in the stairs? And Strada knows who Flo is, and it knows what stairs are, so it can combine those together. Now I've just gotten the whole scene. If I knew this was scene 29A, then I could put this in metadata mode, and I could search for scene 29A, and it would find me scene 29A. Or if I search by just scene 29, if you search by scene 29, it'll just find those. If I want to search by scene, I don't know, is there scene 12? It'll look for scene 12. And now it'll find everything that's relevant to scene 12. So this is what's really powerful, or scene 14, right? So we find all those takes, and now here we have scene 14. So now we're looking at metadata that is searchable like that. But I can also search, remember, we could search for dialogue as well. So if I search for the word poison, you'll love this. Check this out. Search for the word poison. I'm going to find all the time someone says the word poison. And there we can see she says poison there. And I click on another clip and she says poison there. So now she's talking about rat poison. Rat poison. Okay, so we see that. But look at this. If I switched poison to text, now I want to see the word poison. And check this out. Strada can read. So it finds where there's a poison said. And if you'll love this, if I look at my text here and I look for the word poison, here is Strada's log of where it finds things. And it tells me poison is visible 15 seconds in this take. And it can see it happens 3 times. Notice that the poison is visible in this little timeline 3 times. So I know if I click here, there's no poison. If I click here, there's poison. If I click here, no poison, poison, right? You can see it comes and goes, right? Because Strada is able to read. So we can see the word poison. And if I did the same thing on this take, let's load this take. Let's go down to the word poison. and we can see that poison is going to be visible on the screen here. And this is a multicam take, so there's actually two shots. But if we play, you can see poison there. So very, very cool way to do it. Now, that was our facial recognition and search. And now I want to touch on global search. Global search is really cool. So what if you know you're looking for a shop, but you can't remember which project it's in? Because Strada, you can have unlimited projects. Check out my project view. You'll see tons and tons of projects here. And so there's a lot going on. But if I can't remember what project something in, I can hit Command K, which allows me to go to global search. And I could search for something like, I don't know, elephant. And now it's going to look through my whole project and say, oh, you've got a bunch of elephants. And if I select this one, it'll tell me which bins the elephant's in. So I click on that, and now it'll take me right to the project, and I can see my elephant. So I now know it's in the project Planet Earth. It's in the bin episode 3, and I've got the take right there. So see how fast we found our way to this elephant. I could do the same thing if I was looking for something like the character Shayna. If I'm looking for Shayna, it will say, oh, where is Shayna? She's here. So if I say, where do I want to find that? I want to find that in the multicam, and it'll take me right to Shayna in a multicam. And there we are. So now we can see we found that. Totally different project, totally different way to search, but we now have global search in the product, which makes searching so powerful. The more footage you load into Strada, the more you can learn how to find things. It's really, really great, and very, very fast. Now, if you don't want to use global search and you're looking inside of a project, then you can just search in a bin. So if I went into a bin like this and I just look for shots of fire, now it'll just find everything there. It won't look in any of these other projects. At the top, these are all different projects, but here, these are all within this project, so you can see that. Or if I want to search for frog, it will find me, whoop, did I spell it right? Yeah, so it'll find me all the frogs, right? So these are really, really powerful ways that we can enable search to get even better. And then you also might have noticed that so much of this is working in multicam. Strada is the only product in the world that can sync A and B camera together automatically and play them back together. If I hide one camera, I can look at it in just A camera or just B camera or both. And if I skip to the middle or the end, it'll keep in sync. This is the only product in the world that can sync files in the cloud automatically. We use timecode to do that. And if I just right-click a bunch of files and I say sync by timecode, that's how it works. You just right-click sync by timecode, and it will do it. Gavin from YouTube says, hey, we used the transcript for a sizzle fed and fed it to ChatGPT. It instantly gave us multiple blueprints. The blueprint Strada to blueprint was mind-blowing. So he's saying we used the transcript for a sizzler. We fed the transcript to chat, and then it gave us blueprints. Strada to blueprint was mind-blowing. Okay, well, that's pretty cool, Gavin. I'd love to know if we can eliminate the need for you to have to go to chat. So tell us what we'd have to build so that you could just do it all within Strada. I want to make sure I understand what you were doing. But what Gavin is demonstrating here is how people are starting to use AI to help augment their whole workflow. And it's just really exciting to see that happen. It allows you to just collaborate much, much faster. See, this Strada Agents thing that we're building right now is really awesome, but it's only awesome because of the other things Strada does, right? Because we want you not just to have access to your media, but we want you to be able to search it, find it, share it, play it, transcribe it, analyze it, and ultimately build a better edit. In fact, I'll show you a little teaser here. We are building a timeline player. Hopefully you can see this. And so this is the timeline player, which allows you, we're not finished with this yet, but you're going to be able to import media into a timeline. So you can start doing those blueprints, Gavin. You can start doing the blueprints in Strada. So Strada does the transcript, it does a transcript summary, and then you can say, give me a cut down of all of the times the person talks about their childhood, and Strada will assemble that in a timeline, and then you can adjust that timeline. So it's really going to be a great paper edit or workflow tool. Nick Golden, hey, it's good to see you, Nick. Hope you're doing well. I think you got some weather coming your way in the Southeast. Hope you guys are safe. Can we add the Strada agents now? No, you cannot. You got to come to NAB, Nick, and then we're going to try to release the beta at NAB. But because you're a great Strada early adopter, you're like customer number 8. We definitely want you to be a priority in testing Strada agents. If we can give you an agent to test before NAB, we'll do that. Talk to Austin. But today Strada agents can only play back. That's all it does right now. All I did is I took a file and I shared it and I played it back remotely. I can't do the transcriptions yet. I can't do the analytics yet. That's coming. But we want to figure that out. So Nick, thanks for tuning in. We definitely want to get you a beta on this. And other people that want to try the beta, sign up for Strada today, get on the beta, get going. Because it's really starting to take off and it's really starting to get exciting. I want to show, for those of you that are watching, Nick, I don't know if you know how to do this yet. This is something Austin added. Maybe you do know, but if I go into a project and I'll just call this bin import. So I've made an empty bin here. Strada allows you to import without dragging and dropping. So if I go to a large directory, so I'll go to something like Rattled here. I'll just go back to Rattled. I'll go to day 1. I'll go to my synced folder. So instead of having to bring all these files into Strada, I can just go here and say add to bin, right click add to bin, and I can choose what bin. I'll put it in import and it'll take a few seconds, but Strada will now move all that content directly into the bin. So you don't have to copy paste it or anything like that. And if I just hit refresh, all that media should show up here any second. There it is. And so this is actually going to paginate here, but we'll see a bunch of material. So it's uploading, importing large batches. So you can do this with 1,000 clips. It's much easier to do this by just right clicking and selecting the import and add to bin. So that's a really powerful way to import things. And so now all that media is in. So there I imported 75, 84 assets. It's still counting up. So I think 84 was the total. And I did it with just one click. And so that's a new thing. Michael from Zoom says, I'm impressed with the search possibility. I'm wondering what you do with the things that you find. So this is what you can do. One, it depends on what you do, Michael. So for a lot of people, watching dailies and reviewing files as a team is something everyone needs to do. And a lot of the time, someone can't find something. And it's whether it's an issue with a performance or something with legal or an agent or whatever it is. You just need a casting agent, I mean, or you just want to go back and look at things. Searching helps you find all your stuff when you don't have access to the hard drive. If you're the editor, you have access to a hard drive. You can find anything. Plus, editors have really good frontal lobe memory. They can remember where things are. But if you have a cinematographer, writer, director, producer, post-production supervisor, visual effects supervisor, line producer, story producer, they don't know where everything is. Strada helps you find it, especially when you're in a jam. But you can also export. So if I look at this project here, here is a project that is a bunch of footage from a reality game show. And so in this game show, if I wanted to find, I need a shot where the guy does push-ups. If I search push-ups, it's going to find me 2 results. Check this out, Michael. If I look at labels here, we see push-ups, and I can see the push-ups right there. They happen right here. And if I hit play, I found push-ups there. And then I see another result here, and I can see push-ups are supposed to happen right here. And so look how quick I found that. So there's an example where you might want to find it here. But I can also take all of my media here, and I can say export to NLE. And so now I can export this to Final Cut or Resolve, Premiere, or Avid. And when I do that, if I go into Resolve, I'll open this up. Look at this. We've got the same footage here. We got the same footage here. So if I search now in my search bar, I know this is going to be small, but look at this. If I say push-ups, it's going to find the same shot, right? Because it knows. Look at the metadata here, push-ups, right? So it's got it in the metadata here. And if I search, watch this, I'll do a search in Strada. If I search for the character Beck, it'll find the character Beck. There she is. Now, if I said I wanted Beck by the lake, it'll find her by the lake. And then I said I want her backpacking. And now it finds a shot of the character Beck backpacking by the lake. And here we can see, there she is backpacking by the lake. Look what happens in Resolve. If I search for the character Beck by the lake, backpacking, what do you know? It's the same shot. So the same metadata travels from Strada into your editing system. So you can search in your editor, but it just means you can search anywhere, right? Because you can search in your editing system. But if you, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, Premiere can do this, or I could do this in Resolve. We get that a lot. People are like, oh, I think I can do this in Premiere and Resolve. That's not the point. The point is not that you, of course you could do this in Premiere, but the problem is your collaboration team doesn't have Premiere. They don't all use it. They don't all are running in an editor system, and you shouldn't have to be in an editing system to access your media, especially media from a year ago or 10 years ago, right? If you want to search something on a hard drive from 5 years ago, Premiere is not going to help you because you don't have that project file. And you'd have to relink it all if you found it. But in Strada, you're able to find things and search, and anybody can search without having to have all the hard drives plugged in, right? That's the beauty of what we're building. It's a collaboration platform, access to your media everywhere, immediately, on every device. That's what we're trying to build here. And that's what's really exciting. So this was a fun session today. We went through a lot of stuff. I want to invite you all to sign up for that. Question mark is access to tutorials. And so you can see all the tutorials here. If I forgot, how do I, import into Final Cut Pro? I can play that tutorial back. Or how do I generate transcriptions? I can play that tutorial back. So that's built into the app, and it's just in the upper right here in this little question mark, so you can access that. But this is a way for us to constantly be building. We want your feedback. We want your input. Nick Golden and the team at Seed Creative have been amazing to us. They give us feedback, and it's thanks to their feedback that we're able to deliver them updates. You guys are going to love our commenting experience. I can't wait for you to try it. I know you're big Frame.io users, so we trust your instincts. We really want you to try our commenting and tell us what you think. And then, yeah, it's really, really cool. Plus, Nick helped us get our exporting improved for VTT and SRT. Plus, now you can edit transcripts even when they're in a different language. So if I click on this transcript and I switch to Mandarin, I have edit capabilities here. I can actually edit this in Mandarin. So this is very, very cool stuff and very good progress thanks to users like Nick and the Seed Creative team and other people that have joined. So we want to encourage you to give it a shot. Try this out. Get out there, get creating, but start realizing that there's a new world of tools coming. There's new workflows coming, and you got to get really good at them. If you're going to be making stories on whatever platform you prefer, big screen or small, you've got to understand the technology behind it, and you got to do it more efficiently than ever. And that's what Strada's here to do. So we're looking forward to talking to you more. Hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you on Discord, hopefully, everybody. Bye-bye.